Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for participating in the Yuka Dharma. Do you know what Yuka Dharma means? Any Yuka Dharma?
Yuga is a time, some specific time.
Okay.
Dharma, it's maybe a law or
the
law of the universe. Or
that's one way of. That's a good way to.
The
Dharma is a good way to translate Dharma and Yuga, but together, what do they mean? Yuga Dharma.
So you connect and you get together.
Yeah. So so we have these cosmic cycles. So they're almost like seasons. You have like we have in a year in Western Europe. You have usually 4 seasons. In some other parts of the world, they have other seasons. They have the rainy season, fog season. They have sometimes 6 seasons, but you have 4 seasons usually, depending on where you are. Sometimes one season is longer, one is shorter, like that. In Iceland, we have a very long winter, and even a shorter summer and even a shorter spring and fall, like that. So you have this, but you have this basically as a cyclical season. So on a cosmic scale in the universe also goes through 4 yugas or seasons, and each season its yuga is characterized by something, has like a prominent quality. So we have 4 yugas. There's Satya Yuga, there's Treta Yuga, there's Dvapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. And you know which one we are in now, right? You've probably heard that.
Kali.
Yeah, have you heard that? Oh, Kali. So yeah, Kali Yuga is this last stage, and it's the shortest of the 4. So there's Kali Yuga lasts for 432,000 years. That's the length of this age, and this is the one before Kali Yuga was 2 times that length, 860 something, and then one before that was 4 times the length of Kali Yuga, and the other one before that was 3 times and 4 times, and then together you have actually, if you put it together, you actually have 10 times this amount. So 4,320,320 something like 4,320,000 years, something like that. So that's if you accumulate that, at 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 is 10, right? Isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Yeah, so it's 10. So that's one Divya Yuga is called. Divya Yuga means it's a one divine cycle. So the whole, they call it Divya Yuga. So this is how it is explained. The life is very time is cyclical. It's not like linear, really. And usually people before the Industrial Revolution, time was very much like that. It was very like. I one time studied cultural anthropology, and the teacher was talking about. The teacher on this textbook, we're talking about what's the difference between like Western people and like most people in other parts of the world that don't have this like this industrial civilization, is that their time is more cyclical. So if you say to someone like I'm gonna meet you later today or meet you tomorrow, and if you come next week, it means the same to them. It doesn't, like, they don't have such a time isn't so super linear, because it's more like a cycle. It starts and begins and so like that. So they live more in the present. In other words, in the present. So anyway, this is how life really is. It's more like a cycle. Every day is a cycle. Every week, every lifetime is a cycle. It's like a cycle. You start somewhere and you end somewhere. You begin again and like that. So yeah, back to this concept of Yuga Dharma, because each part of the cycle, each yuga has a prominent characteristic. So therefore, there's a different dharma or way to connect to God or a way to perfect your life becomes prominent. So it basically means, I mean, how you say, the goal of life is always the same. The goal of life is always to become God conscious. The goal of life is always to reconnect the soul, connect the human being has the ability to realize, himself and God and the relationship between him and God, and engage in that relationship, and also, work for a greater benefit than just himself. He has that. Animals don't really have that even facility to think, about God or relationship, or they cannot think so much about the greater good. They can only be concerned with their own eating and maybe their immediate family or their herd. It's like that. And I don't know, that's kind of how far an animal can go, maybe towards the herd, and that's okay because they're an animal. But human being has the actual ability to actually benefit not himself or his community or mankind. He can also benefit everyone else, all living beings. So that's human beings has an ability to. So therefore, human life has, there's a saying in the Hitopadeša, actually. This is actually a book on morality, on like a book on, what do you call it? Morality book on. There's a levels of morality. So one is it's more like diplomacy or diplomatic. How do you deal with others and like that. But it has this saying that ahara nitra bhaya maitunam cha samanyan etad pashupi naranam. It's actually very clear Sanskrit. So ahara means to eat, nitra means to sleep, bhaya means to fear or protect oneself, and maituna means sex or sexual, pleasure, sexual relationships. So samanya etad. Samanya means same or common. Etad, these. Pashubi naranam. Pashubi means animals, and narana means human beings. So human beings and animals, they all share the same these functions. So human beings eat and animals eat. Human beings sleep. Animals sleep. Human beings build houses. They protect themselves. They build weapons. They learn martial arts, like that. They wear clothes. They protect themselves. Animals also, they protect themselves in different ways. And Maituna, human beings have families, and animals have families. They have children, and they enjoy partnerships like that. So this is what makes human beings and animals actually the same. What is the difference then? If we do talk about human beings as being distinct from animals in certain ways, some people say we are just another animal, or like two-legged animal or something. But there's one thing that human beings can do and animals cannot. So, and that's dharma. Like we're talking about dharma. So dharma hi eka, dharma hi eka, atika vishesha. The only unique characteristic of human beings is dharma. Like human beings can actually follow a dharma. They can actually get lost. God can give human beings rules that human beings can consciously follow. To animals, they actually follow certain laws, but that's just printed in their brain. Dogs always behave this way, and birds another way. They usually don't go outside their behavior. Human beings have actually a lot more choice how they can behave, but that also means that they have that means that if they want to follow God's law, they have to do it by choice. God has to give them a rules and to live for life, and they do it by choice. So really, religion actually, if you think about it, religion is not a belief. It's nothing to do with belief. Really. Belief is just something you believe you believe something one day and you believe something else a different way. That's not religion at all. Religion is actually a code of conduct. How do you behave? It really means this culture, human culture. Because if you go to any human culture, older cultures, usually whatever they did from day to day in and day out was certain laws given in their scriptures. And if you go to the older religions like Hinduism and Judaism, for instance, these are maybe the oldest. Judaism is very old, and Hinduism is even older. They have actually rules for doing anything. Anything from from time to wake up till they go to sleep. They can actually follow a rule and connect their life to God in that way through the rule. So there's a famous musical called Fiddler on the Roof. I don't know if you've seen it, heard of Fiddler on the Roof. It's very famous in the 60s, 70s. It became like a big hit. So it's about it's a Jewish family in Eastern Europe, I think in Russia, yeah. So they live in this village. So in those times, the Jewish people would usually live in communities of just Jewish people like that. So I think he has 7 daughters or something. He has a lot of daughters, and so it's a story about how all different daughters married different guys. Some of them are not Jewish, some Jewish. So it's a very mellow. It's funny and it's melodramatic. And it's also this rise of the rise of community. It's a lot of historical thing too. Also, and actually by the way, these communities are all destroyed today. There are no Jewish communities like in Eastern Europe anymore. You don't have this. It's that whole thing has been destroyed. So it's very interesting also from a historical point of view to see this. How unfortunately these have been destroyed because but the first song he sings is tradition. He's called tradition. So he's doing some work and he's saying tradition, and he's saying that I'm following a tradition, giving in my scriptures, the Jewish scriptures, and I follow this and follow that. And why do I follow them? Because then I know at every time of the day how I can connect to God. So he's saying that. So it's like
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. It's like So I saw this. I was like amazed. I saw this sometime years ago. I actually watched this, and I was like amazed by this point that he makes this point, and this is actually what religion is supposed to be. It's actually God gives rules for human beings to live, but by following those rules, because the rule is given by God, the human being is connecting back to God. Everything he does is connected to God. It doesn't matter what it is, which part of their life, how they eat, how they sleep, how they produce children, how they grow the field, how they conduct business. Like things are somehow all can be connected to God, and that's dharma. And this is how. So originally, culture is actually that. It's rules given by God, and in different parts of the world, different rules were given by different people because people were slightly different. Like Judaism, for instance, is different from Hinduism because it's given for people living in a different part of the world with different different situations. So dharma is really this. Dharma is the laws given by God, and they are really meant to connect the human being to God, to revive the humans' God consciousness. So the God consciousness just means that you're aware that God is master and I am servant. I am subordinate to God. You obviously are. You cannot get away from that. You're not. We live in a body, very temporary body. We are very small, and it's very obvious that we are not God. God is God, and we are subordinate to God. So this God consciousness, basic element of God consciousness is that God is master, I'm servant. So I follow his laws like that. So if you by following his laws, your consciousness of God actually develops more and more. It turns into love of God. Actually, it starts you start by following the rules, but because you are connecting with God as a person more and more, you actually eventually love God. You obey God out of love more than out of obedience. So it's kind of like parents. You may follow if parents are very strict, you obey them out of fear, but also you love your parents. If you have good parents, they're not just because you know that if you do something, it will not make them happy, like that. So you do it out of love eventually. So anyway, I just decided to go off on a little tangent here because when I said Yuga Dharma, and I realized I may have not explained this, why we actually chant Hare Krishna. Why do we do this? Why do we do this so much? Because this actually is the dharma, or the main method of connecting with God in this time and age, Kali Yuga. So so in the Satya Yuga, which was 4 times longer than our age, that in that yucca people used to, because they lived very long. They lived much longer than we do today, and they had very I say very they were very intelligent and very peaceful. So they had the ability to just go to the forest. I mean, at that time the earth was actually very wasn't so, what do you call it? It wasn't so how would you say it? It wasn't so tamed. I mean, the earth wasn't so like been excavated. It was just very natural. You didn't have a lot of cities and stuff like that. You know, people were just living very simple. Sorry.
Industries and
Yeah, things were just very simple, and so people and the earth was very beautiful, very nice. Everything was so nice and very so heavenly actually. So people would just, they would spend a lot of time just meditating. They would sit and meditate for long times, you know, and become perfect just through meditation. So they would actually use this yogic process of meditating within their heart and controlling their senses, withdrawing the power of the senses within their heart, focusing that energy of attention in the heart and discovering God in the heart, and you know, meditating and realizing the relationship with God just through that process. So that was the main process in that age, because people at that time were like that. Then in the next yuga, Treta Yuga, there was a little more introduction of how would you say, immorality. So people became a little more restless. They became a little more materialistic. So opulent desires became more prevalent. So then people started. So the process given at that time was this very grand ceremonies that in fire ceremonies where people would offer, that would last for weeks or years sometimes. Where people would do these fire offerings, and with mantras, very precisely done, with precise mantras and lots of ghee, I mean clarified butter and grains and other things, and offered to the fire. And through this, they were, you know, all the prosperity that they wanted, because now people were more interested in material prosperity. So through these yagyas, they were showered with so much material prosperity in this life. But they were also, because they were offering to Krishna. Sometimes, I mean, Vishnu himself, Krishna himself, will appear from the fire and accept the offering. So they were seeing Krishna through this, if they were successfully do it. But this kind of sacrifice, no one is, I mean, near to capable of performing today, because it requires so much purity and precision and of mantras and everything and precision. So you may see some fire ceremonies today, but they are not in that category. They are more like just short offerings, like we did here when we moved in here. Yeah, so that's just like a homa. It's not like an agnishtoma or something. And then in the next age, Dwapara Yuga, the dharma became temple worship. So at that time, grand temples were built, and people used to worship the Lord in the temple. So everything was centered around worshiping. Everything was engaged, basically. All the whole kingdom, the whole village was centered around a temple where you would worship. So, and you see a lot of remnant of this today. If you see in other archaeological finds show that there was a lot of temples all over the world, not just in India, in Greece and Rome, and you know, so many other places. You see remnants of great temples. So this was because this was the main process of connecting to God, or connecting your human life to God in that age. So now in this age, Kali Yuga, although we may to some extent do some meditation, we may to some extent do some fire sacrifice, we may to some extent do worship of the Lord, these things on their own do not work fully to make us God conscious. So therefore in this age, the holy name of Krishna, or the holy name of the Lord, repeating his name, has become the main yuga dharma. It is our only hope actually to become God conscious, to become perfect spiritually. And this actually works for any process, even if you are not particularly a personalist. If you want to become perfect in any other process, if you don't include the chanting of God's name, it won't work. And you actually see this even today. There are so many different spiritual practitioners, you know, but there's always this element is always there in some form or another. There's always some chanting of mantras, or singing of songs, or kirtans like that. Like I've been to a lot of prayers. So I've been to a lot of like different spiritual groups and churches and so on. But you see, this is always like the life of the process. Without the mantra, without the kirtan, without the song, without the singing, the whole thing becomes very dead. It's kind of things that keeps it afloat. Although this may not also always be the main, focus, but it is kind of the life of the process. So in this age, when I say Yuga Dharma, this is we have to develop more and more faith and more and more connection and faith and commitment to chanting this God's names. So we chant this Hare Krishna mantra. Of course, that's the mantra that is said to be the most effective, but it's not the only way to chant the names of God. God actually has unlimited names, and you can chant any of His names to connect to Him, to become purified and perfect and so on. But we take this mantra as being the most powerful method, actually, or most powerful mantra for this age. So this is why we chant it. So when I say Yuga Dharma, I just mean that in this chanting is the method for this age for us to become God conscious, to connect our lives to God. So, and I like in my personal life, for instance, if we do other things as devotees, as Hare Krishna devotees, we also do some worship and some other things, but without the chanting, everything else becomes difficult. But so therefore, I try to start my day mainly, always with my chanting, with my japa meditation and so on. And when I do that, everything else becomes much easier to do. All the other aspects, offering the food to Krishna, doing the kirtan and so on. It becomes everything else becomes alive and easy. So without the chanting, it becomes difficult. So basically, my advice is that try and chant every day. Some regular number of mantras, Hare Krishna, especially Hare Krishna mantras. Just whatever it is, just try and do it every day, especially in the morning when you wake up. Dedicate some time, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, like that, whatever you can set aside. Try and start your day always with some chanting. And then your day will be, you can connect the rest of your day much more easily to Krishna. You can, like I said, every day is a cycle, so every day starts as a new life almost. So you share a day and tomorrow or day after, whatever, you started with this chanting, then the day can actually be connected more easily to Krishna. You can use the rest of the day more to connect with Krishna. So this is why we actually, we do this chanting so much. And it says actually that whatever results you got in Sat Yuga by this fire sacrifice, whatever results you got in Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga through this grand sacrifices, fire sacrifices, whatever result you got from doing this very grand worship in the temple, you can get all those results and more just now by chanting the name of Krishna, Harinama. So there's a saying like Kritayam Tayado Vishnam Tretayam Makai Taparam Parichayam Kalitat Harikirtana. So anyway, this is the statement, the saying that whatever you got from these other 3 ages, from those 3 processes, you get in this age in Kali Yuga from this kirtan or this chanting of Krishna's names. And there's another thing we often quote from the Brihad Naradiya Purana that says that Harer Nama Eva Kevalam Kalau Nastyeva Gatiranyata. So when something is repeated, it means emphasis. And when something is repeated 3 times, it gives even more emphasis. So it says in this statement, it's repeated 3 times, not just one thing. So Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama. Chant the holy name of the Lord, the holy name of the Lord, chanting of the holy name of the Lord, chanting of the holy name. Eva Kevalam is the only way, Eva Kevalam is Eva and Kevalam both are an emphasis. So Kevalam means purely or only. Kalau, in the age of Kali, Na Asti Eva, Na Asti Eva, Na Asti Eva. There is no other way in this Gatir Anyata to attain the goal of human life. So the reason why we do this is because there is no other way. You may do other things and they are nice. I'm not saying that anything else isn't nice, but if there is really no other way than this chanting, everything else can assist this chanting, but without the chanting, nothing else really works. Cannot really take you very far. So, so I just want to thank you for listening to the explanation of Yuga Dharma. So when I say Yuga Dharma, this is what I mean, is that this is the method that works in this age, and there is no other method that really has the potency to help us. We can do so many other things, that's fine. It's actually encouraged that you engage in other processes, because they kind of assist with, they can assist with this process. Like if you do daily worship, for instance, it helps your mind to be more pure and clean and regulated, because you wake up to do this ceremony at this time. So it very helps the body being and the mind being more pure and connected to Krishna. You connect the body to Krishna like that. But without the chanting, it doesn't work. That process becomes very dead and boring. But the process, if you chant and do the other things, they actually do help the chanting also. Chanting helps them, and they help the chanting. So my point is that I'm not a fanatic that we should only chant and nothing else, because most people can't do that. Most people cannot sit down day in and day out and just chant Hare Krishna. Most people they have other things to do, and they have other tendencies they have to develop, they have to address. So this is why we do chant Hare Krishna first, and then we can do other things, and we try to connect them to Krishna also. So thank you for listening to that. I'm going to read the statement from the Bhagavad Gita. Well, this is the 5th chapter, Action in Krishna Consciousness, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. As I said, karma, this is karma, doing a duty in Krishna Consciousness. It means there's jnana. The 3rd chapter talks about Karma Yoga, and the 4th chapter talks about Jnana Yoga or Krishna Consciousness. Karma, the 5th chapter is how do you actually do both? How do you stay active in this world? You remain in this world, but you are still in transcendental consciousness. So this is actually the most difficult. So last time we read them text 20, and today we read 21. This is not a long one. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So Bahya Sparsheshvasaktatma Vindatyatmaniyat Sukham Sabrahma Yoga Yukta Atma Sukham Akshayam Ashnute. Such a liberated soul is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. So, Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnanam Janashalakya Chaktivanvitam Vinatasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Namaprastham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Patakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahakana Rakalatanvitam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadutam Parichana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahakana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Jahe Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishapanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhupya Eva Japati Tana Pavanepyo Vaishnavepyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Bahya Sparsheshu Asaktatma. So Bahya means outside, Sparsha means sense pleasure. to external sense pleasure. Asaktatma means someone who is a man, a person who is not attached to external sense pleasure. Vintatyatmanyayat sukham. So he's someone who is actually enjoying within himself spiritual happiness. So it's like if you're happy within, if you're satisfied within, you don't have a tendency to go out and enjoy because you're already happy. It's like usually when people are they're trying to enjoy things. They wanna like drink alcohol or have sex or watch a lot of movies, something. They're trying to fill a hole in their heart. There's this material desire means dissatisfaction. Have you realized that? Material desires means dissatisfaction. If you are satisfied, if you're fully satisfied within, you wouldn't desire anything else, anything physical, because your heart is full already. So if your heart is fully full, completely satisfied, there's not a one bit of desire to be unfulfilled, then you don't need to. You don't have it. You don't have a desire to. You don't have. You don't desire to satisfy your external body because you are satisfied within. So material desire just means that. It just means dissatisfaction. That's all it means. You feel dissatisfied inside, and therefore you're trying to satisfy that you're trying to fill that gap, that hole, that deficiency inside by applying things to the senses, to the five senses and the mind. Saprama yoga yuktatma sukkam akshayam ashnute. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. So, akshayam. Yeah, Brahma Yoga means Brahma is actually God, or it's God. So, because he's connecting his consciousness, Brahma Yoga Brahma Yoga Yuktatma, to the Supreme, to Krishna. Krishna is unlimited. Krishna is God, so he is unlimited. Everything, all happiness, everything pleasurable is within Krishna. So if you are connecting with him, just like if you connect to a person who is extremely like happy, if you know someone who's extremely beautiful and happy and wealthy and he's like full of all wonderful qualities, so being with a person, you feel so happy. You're filled with happiness. So some people are like popular because they give so much happiness to people. So imagine God. He is full of all opulences. He's the most beautiful. He's the most wealthy. He's the most knowledgeable, the most funny. He's the most loving. It's like he has all those qualities. So someone who is connected his consciousness with Krishna, who is the source of all these qualities that we find so attractive, then that person is he actually experiences unlimited happiness. Sukham akshayam ashnute. Akshaya means unlimited. There's no limit. So his happiness is unlimited. Actually, it's an ocean. It's actually like an ocean of happiness and love, simultaneously an ocean of love and happiness, because you feel connection is through love, so you feel an unlimited ocean of happiness within your heart. So you don't have any, and this is why there's not like one tiny bit of desire to be fulfilled in the heart, like not the tiniest bit. So this is actually what ultimately Krishna consciousness is. When you become fully Krishna conscious, you actually feel that way. You just don't have any desire to fulfill, because Krishna is everything you want. Krishna is the supreme lovable object. So when you have him, when your consciousness is fully focused on him, you have nothing. There's no desire left to be fulfilled. So Prabhupada's purport. Sri Yamunacharya, a great devotee in Krishna consciousness, said, this is a Sanskrit, Yad avati mama cheta Krishna padaravinde navanava rasa dham manyutyatam rantum asit tat avati pata nari sankame smaryamane avati mukha vikara shushtu nishtivanam cha. So this is the translation, a very short translation. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, Yat avati mama cheta Krishna padaravinde, realizing ever new pleasure in him, nava rasa, So Navanam is always new. Something is always new and new. Like you enjoy things that are new and fresh. Something is new, like the latest thing. So God, Krishna is like that. He's getting newer and every moment fresher and every moment. So every time you see Krishna, it's like you see him for the very first time. You go, wow, what a beautiful, nice person. So it's not like, oh, that guy. You never have that kind of experience. Oh, yeah, that guy. No, he said, wow, who that? Wow, who is this? So Krishna is like that. He's always new, always fresh. He's like so since I've been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit on the thought, and my lips curl in with distaste. A person in Brahma Yoga or Krishna consciousness is so absorbed in the loving service of the Lord that he loses his taste for material sense pleasure altogether. The highest pleasure in terms of matter or material world is sex pleasure. The whole world is moving under its spell, and materialists cannot work at all without this motivation. Like, this song by the Beatles, the hard day's night. You know this song? It's been a hard day's night. I've been working like a dog. I should be sleeping like a log, But when I come home to you and see the things that you do, it makes me feel all right, So the man is working like day like a slave, But when he comes home, oh, this is so much worth it, what his beloved. Right. So I'm saying, so Prabhupada is saying, without this motivation, no one would work so hard. Who would work so hard unless there was some motivation like that? This family, this sexual motivation, The whole world is moving under its spell, and the materialists cannot work at all without this motivation. But a person engaged in Krishna consciousness can work with greater vigor without sex pleasure, which he avoids. So basically, the devotee, he does not, he avoids sex pleasure. Sex has a place for procreation, but that's not something he's like, he's not running after that. His source of inspiration and energy is actually the service of Krishna. Krishna's mission in this world. That is, so therefore he avoids it as much as he doesn't. He's the opposite of the material. Is actually his goal is sex. He tries to find every last way to squeeze as much like pleasure and inspiration from sex. But the devotee is the opposite. He actually tries to minimize it to the minimum, and he maximizes the attraction to Krishna. And he is more inspired than the materialist. That is the test in spiritual realization. Spiritual realization and sex pleasure go ill together. A Krishna conscious person is not attracted to any kind of sense pleasure due to his being a liberated soul. So that's Krishna consciousness. So we may not be there, but this is where we gradually are moving there. Yeah, Prabhupada was like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
He's an 8-year-old man who started the worldwide movement, traveling 14 times around the globe, translating, publishing 100 books and opening 100 centers and writing letters. He has so much energy, so much vigor, and despite being an old man, he was not the most healthy either. He has the cell phone, but he has so much. He had no limit of his energy and inspiration and that was coming from Krishna. And he's definitely had no. He was definitely not having any sex pleasure. Everyone knew that who was with him. He was just he was a monk. He was already left his family life behind. So he was. So this is the example we look at. He's our Mahajana. The person that we look at, take inspiration from, and try to follow. This Yamunacharya actually is interesting. He was actually a king. Yamunacharya's story is very interesting. He was actually a king. He was born in a priestly family, in a Brahmin family. And he was a very and he was sent to the school, to study the Sanskrit and logic and all those things. And he was very, very brilliant as a student. So he was so brilliant that he actually couldn't. Sometimes you have kids in the school that are so smart that they get bored, because everything is too easy for them, so they start making trouble. So it was almost like that. His parents found a teacher that was also he was so like intelligent and spoke such a high level that no student could follow that person. So they thought, oh, this is a perfect match. It's a very intelligent boy and it's very, very, very elevated, intelligent, scholarly teacher. So they became like a perfect match. So then, Yamanacharya was studying with him, and then one day a king sends a message to his teacher saying that in my kingdom a man has come, a great scholar has come, a great learned person who wants to debate all the scholars in my kingdom, and best scholars, and you're considered the best, so we are asking you to come and debate with this scholar. And Yamanacharya actually read this message, and he just actually said, we don't have time for this. This is a waste of time. He just said, this is a waste of time, he said to the messenger. So then, and I think there's some people exaggerate the story, he took the letter and used it to just do his cleaning duty or something. So anyway, the point is the king actually, when king got the message back that these people weren't even interested, he thought these people are so elevated in knowledge that I have to treat them respectfully. So he brought like his royal palanquin, he actually had them brought there with great respect. So then, but then Yamanacharya actually, they went together, and Yamanacharya said to his teacher that this is a small time program, you shouldn't waste your time. Let me just talk to this person. So he just told the scholar, so I'm gonna debate with you, and he was like maybe 12 years old or something. He was a very young boy, And the teacher, this arrogant scholar was very arrogant, and he said, I don't mind. Actually, there was a story that actually he demanded whoever would,
Who's he?
The scholar demanded that whoever was defeated by him, he had to give him his left ear, cut off his left ear. That was a saying. So he was kind of a cruel guy, arrogant and cruel. And he said, I don't mind a small ear, versus a big ear. Anyway, some people embellish the story, but anyway, so some people are totally like this. But so when the queen saw this boy step forward, she became so she fell so much in love with this kid. She said to her husband, the king, that I think this boy is going to become the king or something. He says something, I think he's going to win. Or maybe he said, I'm going to think he's going to win. And the king said that how do you think a boy of that age can conquer this great scholar? And then the queen said, I don't know, I just feel it in my heart. And the king said, okay, if he wins this argument, then I'm going to give him half my kingdom. He said to the queen. So anyway, then they had a debate, and the king actually, the scholar said to him that since you're a boy, you just have to ask something. You can ask the questions, you can start, because you were the younger. I give you opportunity. And the boy said to him, well, all you have to do is you just have to refute three statements that I've made. And one was that I forgot all three, but he said one of them is that our king is the Sarvabhauma. He is the lord of the land. Sarvabhauma means also means like the lord of all lands, but it also the other thing is then he said, and you have to and the second one is that the queen is chaste. It's a chaste woman. And the third thing is that your mother is barren. Barren means like a woman who cannot have a child. So he's thinking, okay, how am I going to explain that the king is not a king? I'm going to explain that the woman sitting here is actually not a chaste woman, she's like a loose woman or something. And how am I going to explain that I'm the evidence of my mother being not being barren? How can I say he's barren? So he actually just got angry and says like, how can you? These things are not possible to And then the queen, then they asked him. Then they asked him, so can you defeat your statement? And the boy said, well, Sarvabhauma means that Lord of the whole land. He's only ruling a part of the land. So although Sarvabhauma can be considered within the kingdom, but within a greater context, he's not the king of everything. Therefore, although he is a great king, there's actually another way of version saying the king is very pious. The king is very pious, he's a very pious man. So I'm trying to find out how he's a sinful person. So this first thing, and so he's saying although he's a very good king, as a king he takes 1/6 of the sinful reactions of all his citizens. That makes him especially sinful. He taints him with sin, although he himself may be perfectly following like his dharma. And then the next one, I mean, how his mother is not barren.
What about the king?
Yeah, I'll say it last because that was like the touchiest one. How come your mother is barren although she had a son? And then Yamunacharya, he quoted a statement saying that if there's a Shastric statement, everything is based on Shastra here on the scriptures. So it says in the scriptures that a woman can only have one child. She's considered as good as barren. So in those days, women would have like 10 children or more, sometimes, or a lot of children. So if a woman just had one kid, she was considered. There's one statement saying that she can be considered as good as barren. So then, because the scholar didn't know this statement, he couldn't, he was defeated by that. And then the queen asked him, so what about the last one? How do you say that I am not chaste? And then there are two ways I've heard two versions how he answers that. One was that when a girl is married, there are two devatas that have protected her from childhood, or at least from her puberty until marriage. And so in the ceremony, they're asked to leave. Now you can leave charge of her, and the husband will take over. So in that sense, there have been like these two men have been with her the whole time, so she's not going to chaste. And the other explanation given also is that the king is said to be the embodiment of all the gods. All the gods are present in the body of the king. So because the power of God comes through the body of the king. And all the qualities that he has, they are originate with the demigods, the different gods in the heavens that have different qualities to do different functions. So all these devatas are present in the king. So although she is married to one man, in one sense she's married to all these devatas, So anyway, so without offending the queen, he was able to say that she is not just with one man or something like that. So she's very, very kind of clever, And then, so just in a simple way, the boy actually defeated this great priest and this great scholar, and then he became a king. So as a king, he had, a lot of opportunities to enjoy royal, life. That includes, sex life in his what do you call it? In his most opulent form. But later on, it had been predicted that he would become a great teacher of dharma, of religion, of this Yamunacharya. So, and that was in his horoscope. So at one time there was a great devotee scholar who came and convinced him to give up his kingdom and become an acharya, a guru, an acharya. So that's what happened to him eventually. So he became actually a great devotee of Krishna and a great acharya, and he's actually he's very much respected by in all of India and all of the different schools of Vaishnavas. We all respect him and acharya. He's a guru of Ramanujacharya, who is the head of one of the main schools of Vaishnavism. So when he wrote these words, he was actually not referring to it as any kind of sense pleasure. He was talking about royal life. In royal life, who can enjoy more than a king? A king has the most opulence. He has the most comfort. He has the best food. He has the most beautiful women. And everything he is allowed to enjoy all those things. So he had that, and it was kind of his duty to enjoy those things, because the citizens want the king to enjoy the kingdom. They want him to, if they give him a gift, the king should accept the gift and at least seem to enjoy it. So anyway, so he had that experience of a very high level of material happiness, And he's saying, now when I become fully like Krishna conscious, my consciousness is fully connected with Krishna, and I'm experiencing a newer and newer pleasure at every moment. When I think about that that happiness I had before, which was not the highest level of material happiness, I find it just so insignificant. I just find it, it's just like a waste of my time. He just finds it completely uninteresting. Like, what was it? So this is actually, it's just a wonderful statement just to make the difference that this is Prabhupada said the taste of Krishna consciousness, the taste that you're becoming Krishna conscious is that you're becoming less interested in sex life. And so when you have completely lost interest, like the last bit of interest in sex life, that means you become fully Krishna conscious. That's the sign. That's like the symptom. So anyway, and at least we know the what do you call it? Yeah, we know that now, how we can measure our advancement. So the advancement, like I said, the yoga dharma, this chanting is actually the real way to actually become Krishna conscious, to become eternally happy, unlimitedly happy by contacting Krishna, the unlimited source of happiness, who is ever new, or ever fresh. He's always getting more and more attractive, actually, at every moment. So the soul can only be happy fully. Because our nature is to be Krishna conscious. When Krishna is taken out of the picture, there is like an unlimited want in our heart, because it can only be filled by an unlimited source of happiness, Krishna. So when unlimited source is blocked out in our consciousness, then we have an unlimited desire to enjoy this world. We try to enjoy it this way, that way, and we can never become satisfied, because nothing in this world is fully satisfying. It only satisfies us a little bit, and then we want more, and we. So talk to anyone who has had all the everything at their disposal and see if they're happy. They are not. Think about rock stars or something. They have all the money, all the women, all the intoxicants, everything, but they are totally miserable. The more they actually go into that. So human life is actually meant to be moderation. You try and moderate things and focus on spiritual life. Then you're actually happy. You're not happy by overindulgence. Any questions from our grand audience here?
I was maybe make a comment.
Yeah.
You say this celebrities, they are kind of intoxicated. This
Celebrities,
rock stars.
Yeah.
But I was thinking some of them they then later turn to mantra and Vaishnavism and Bhakti yoga. And I was thinking it's necessary for them to go through this, to go through all that hell that they intoxicated themselves, and to understand it, that this is not the way for happiness. It's another way. So I think they are really lost and at that time, but then they kind of it's still necessary to go through this, because you can maybe explain for a person, don't do that, don't drink, don't make drugs, don't party or something, but he don't listen to you. And then he go through it and he feel miserable, and then he realize, well, this is not the way. He was right, this person, maybe this bhakti yogi or something, and then he tried the other way, and then he stay in this way.
There's actually there are three types of intelligence, three levels of intelligence. So the first level, the most intelligent person, he only has to hear that alcohol is not good for you, or overindulging in sex, or running with many women or something, or it's not makes you happy, or like eating too much, or they hear those things and they say that makes sense, and they kind of they get the idea, they think about it, see it, and they just by hearing about it they say, okay, I will not do those things. So this is the most intelligent person. So there are people like that who actually just are smart enough to not even start it. Like someone tells me, because in my life, in my young life, smoking was more common among people, and and people will come to my school and talk about the ills of smoking. I don't think they do this anymore today, but they used to do it at that time. And I just thought, oh, that makes sense. Just don't start smoking. And I never started smoking. I didn't find it that interesting anyway. But then I know a man I think he still smokes today, and he said to me at that time, he told me his story that he started smoking, but nicotine is so addictive. It's really hard to quit it actually. And I think he still smokes today, but I told him that I just decided never to start, and he said, "Oh my God, that's so intelligent. Just don't start. That's like the most." He was like blown by how brilliant that is. Just don't even start, But I'm saying anyway. Somehow I got the message, and I'm not saying I'm intelligent in every respect. I'm just giving like a small example of one addiction. So most intelligent is someone who hears about it, thinks about it, and thinks, "Oh, that makes sense. I wouldn't do that." And then he doesn't get addicted. Doesn't waste, God knows how many hours and how much money and everything that takes to indulge in that thing. Like smoking takes time and money and health and everything. So it sucks out a lot of your life. So this is a first class intelligence. The second one is learning by seeing, that you see things. You see that, like Prabhupada gave an example of, you may hear that stealing is criminal, you shouldn't steal. And he said, okay, that makes sense, I won't steal. Another one sees, okay, but maybe I should steal. But then he sees someone else stealing and he gets caught by the police, he gets thrown in prison and this and that, he loses his job or whatever, and he gets on a bad result. So he hears about it, he sees it, and he says, okay, I think I shouldn't steal. I think I should change my plan to become a thief or something. He stops the idea. And the third level of intelligence, you have to experience it to learn it, and that's that you're talking. That's the third level of intelligence. That you think, you may have heard that doing those things isn't good, doesn't make you happy, and you may even see others doing it, and you may see them, end in a gutter, in their own vomit or whatever, whatever, or catch a disease or something. But still, you think you have to kind of try it yourself, and then you learn, okay. And if you actually do learn from it, that actually means you have some intelligence. You have at least the last bit of intelligence that at least so what you're talking about is actually, even not everyone even does that. Some people actually never learn a lesson. And that's the fourth intelligence. That just means no intelligence, really. So the first three, seeing, hearing, seeing, and experiencing, and you learn. If you learn at the end, that means you have intelligence. If you don't learn even after seeing it, hearing it, doing it yourself, that means you don't have intelligence. And that's actually, a lot of people are also in that category. They just don't have any brains, when it comes to, real intelligence, and what wisdom. So, yeah. So,
Yeah, too much.
yeah. So anyway, it's like like I say, this is actually a good thing. That someone like you think of like George Harrison and someone, like he experienced a lot, but became he became very spiritual in his later life. So, and he had seen it, he had heard it, and he experienced something higher too. He had a higher taste. So yeah. So anyway, the point is that we should, if you don't have intelligence, pray for God to give you intelligence, because intelligence really comes from within. From God actually gives it to you if you want it. So He can give you the intelligence. Krishna actually says that. This is actually very important. He's saying, the Dami Bhuti Ekam Tam, Mam Chayo Vyabhicharani Bhakti Yoga Sivati. No, this is not the. This is an important, very important statement. I should know it by heart. He says basically that I give you intelligence from within the heart, and how to come to me. This is the next one. It's 10:9. No, 10. Yeah. 10:10. How easy is that to remember? 10:10. You remember that? So 10:10. 10th verse. 10th chapter, 10th verse. Tesham satatayuktanam pachatam priti purvakam pradami buddhiyokam tam yena mam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the intelligence by which they can come to me. So if you really want Krishna and you really try to serve Krishna, the more you try, the more you want him, he actually gives you the intelligence to reach him. You may not now know how to reach him. You may now have habits that you cannot give up and so on. But if you really keep trying, Krishna will give you intelligence to actually be firmly situated on the path. And then he says in the next verse, which is very nice, very encouraging, that Tesham evanukam partam aham agyana jam tamaha nasayamyatma bhavastu jnana deepena hashvata. Krishna says, to show them special mercy, I, dwelling within their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So Krishna, eventually, when you try and surrender to him, eventually he will do that. He will just light up your heart with knowledge. So all the ignorance that's causing your misery and suffering and addiction and so on will be gone. You will just see Krishna. So, yeah. But Krishna can be bought if you're ready to pay the price. He can be bought, but you have to be willing to pay the price, and he will give himself to you. So that's the point. We may not be on the first level of intelligence, or the second, or even the third, but if we really want Krishna, Krishna consciousness is also a form of intelligence. It's called buddhi yoga, or like it's a form of intelligence, spiritual intelligence. So that intelligence is given by Krishna. He said, Tatami buddhi yogam tam. I give them the intelligence to come to me. Buddhi yoga means intelligence by which you can connect with Krishna. You can come to Krishna. So Krishna gives that intelligence to those who are always trying to serve him, those who don't give up. So if you don't give up, then Krishna will give us the intelligence to fully come to him. Any other questions, comments? Did I answer that question? Or
yes, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. That's a very nice point. I really liked it actually. There's this. It's very pertinent, very relevant. There's three types. So, we need intelligence, but we have different levels, and sometimes we don't have much intelligence, but we can get it still. Yes, you want to say something else?
Yeah, I want another point about. You said that it's very boring if we are not meditating and not singing and something like that. And I was thinking, yesterday I was in my kitchen. I was thinking, actually, it's really good to chant and sing, and mantra. Even you alone at home, or you are cooking. So your life is much more like a flower, like much more beautiful, much more rich, not that boring, not that gray. Like if you don't include these things, if you don't include meditation, if you don't include chanting or singing mantra loud, or and reading Gita, so it's the life has become so gray and something is missing.
It's a very good point. I find this myself. If you just try to sing and chant in every moment, whatever you're doing, cooking, driving, you just sing and chant, and it really enlivens you, and it also makes it much easier to practice. Take out the practice more regularly. The more you take charge of this, the more you do this chanting, it's like a possible feedback. If you chant more and more in any situation, then you can easily take out the practice on every day, and that everyday practice makes it easier to chant even more in any situation. So it's true. Your life becomes. I find it myself. Every time I start chanting, I become very much more alive and more inspired, and more happy. And,
more positive also.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna do our chapter meditation. Are we ending the live stream? Oh, okay. Thank you, whoever joined us online. We are turning off the live stream, but we'll do some japa meditation on our beats. If you're welcome to do that. And we will do some kirtan and we'll have some food. So if you ever come to Iceland, then you can join us here and experience those things with us. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.